Hey Dad, what you working on this time?
Oh, hey, what's going on? Well, this is a Polaris Sportsman 500 HO and it's overheating. So what I'm into right now is I'm gonna start by removing all the front end so I have better access to the radiator, take a good look at that. And then I'm gonna systematically go through, the fan, making sure the coolant is topped up and all the rest of it. So yeah, let's do one thing at a time here. Let's get this front end all apart. All right, now there's our radiator cap.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And let's make sure we have some coolant in there, but at the same time, since I'm in here, let's make sure the fan spins freely, which it does. So those are two good things. Two good things. All right, now, never opened this hot. I mean, you guys should probably know it, and it looks empty. I don't see anything in there. I don't know how far down it is, but it's not a good sign. So let's carry on. It's possible that it spit it out. So when these engines, actually when any engine starts to run hot, that coolant expands and then it has to go somewhere. So it either goes into one of two places. Either it goes into a recovery can or a little tank on the side, or it'll actually just dump on the ground. Most modern vehicles go into a recovery tank because it's, better for the environment. So anyways, there's only a few bolts holding the front, so let's remove those. I'm stuck in this big spaghetti here. Okay, so one of the things I like to do as well is always start with the simplest things. So we have access to our fuse box right here. So let's go through and check our fuses. Maybe it's just a blown fuse causing the fan not to turn on. So let's see. So that one's good. There we go. So anyways, you get the idea. I'm going to check all these fuses. And if there's one that happens to be bad, well then we're going to replace the fuse and that might solve the problem. So I've already checked them all. They're already all good. The next thing from there, I like to take a good known battery. Doesn't have to be this big, but this is what I happen to have. Right here is our connector for the fan. So black happens to be the ground on this. So I'm going to remove my little protective caps. Try and get on there. And we're going to just test to make sure the fan works. So ground, and then carefully without arcing anything, we're going to connect our power. Okay, let's see if it turns on. So fan works perfectly fine. So now we're moving on to a few other things. Okay, so I couldn't help but notice the radiator is very dirty. So if I shine my light back here, you guys are going to notice that parts of it, you can see the light, and yes, in the middle there is the fan and the motor. But right down below, if I shine my light down at the bottom, you can't really see any light coming through all this. It's like, it's caked on there. It's really muddy. So I'm going to definitely have to clean that out. And just for the fun of it, I have my compressor ready. And I do have, there you go, there's my blowgun. I just want to see how bad this is. And it's always a good idea to blow your radiators reverse from the airflow. And I always use compressed air because using water, unless you have it perfectly flowing through and then there's no mud left in between, it will just turn back into mud if you have anything in between the fins. So I like to use compressed air when the radiator's cool and dry. I should be wearing some glasses right now, but just for fun, I'm just gonna pick a section here and see. Oh yeah, wow. I'm not even blowing very hard, guys. Just look at that. Doesn't matter where I go. Oh. Okay, I'm gonna have to take it outside to do that. So that could be a very good indicator of why this machine is running hot. But I want to take it one step further, and I want to make sure, I don't know how low the system is. So I'm going to go ahead and put some in, and I'm going to look for static leaks. after I pour some up into the top of the, well, whatever the spigot here is, and then hopefully we won't have any leaks. Bring it outside, blow out the radiator, bring it up to temperature, and then see if everything works. Now, first things first, let's go get some coolant. See how low it is. Okay, another little trick. I love giving tricks out. If you take the container, whatever you have, especially oil, if you put the hole that you're going to pour the liquid out at the top, it allows you to put the container that much more flat before it starts to pour out, and you can direct it right into where you want it, just like that. So now we're going to go nice and slow here so we don't create any air bubbles, because depending how low the system is, I may have to bleed it. And I'm hoping that within a few seconds here it's going to be topped up. And if it's not, that's kind of sus. A little bit suspect too as to why it's running hot. Like, where did all that coolant go? Oh, is it coming up? No. Alright guys, so right after I stopped talking, it basically was right there. So there wasn't, it was low, definitely low, but it wasn't to the point where I don't think we shouldn't have to bleed it. So what we're going to do now is we're going to leave the cap off. I'm going to start it, I'm going to back it out, and I'm going to be monitoring everything, but at the same time I'm going to blow out this radiator, and then you know, I'm not going to let it run while I'm blowing the radiator because I don't want the fan to kick on while I'm doing that. But then as soon as I'm done cleaning the radiator, I am going to let it run to see if the system works as it should. If it doesn't, well, it could be another issue. Maybe the water pump is not flowing fluid. Could be a number of things, thermostat, airlock somewhere in the system. But let's start with the simplest. We know this is really dirty. Let's go with that. Okay, so I have it running. It's been about, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 minutes, and coolant topped up. Sorry, the radiator is much cleaner. I can't get any more dirt out of that, so it's actually in really good condition as well. Well, there you go. You can see through the radiator just the light, the natural light around it. So I'm not sure, even at the bottom. So that's pretty awesome. And we know that the water pump's doing its job, because when we hit the throttle and it circulates, it drops a little bit. You can see it moving around. There you go. So that tells you that the coolant is, or the pump is doing its job. And it should be coming up in a second, unless oh, you know what? I'll bet you the thermostat opened. So any minute, if everything works properly, we should hear from the fan. Something else I'm monitoring is I make sure that both the lower and upper rad hose are somewhat same temperature, or at least that they're both warm. So this is the upper rad hose, and it's warm. It's actually almost hot. That's kind of normal. Been running for, I don't know, 10 minutes now. Like I said, I haven't heard the fan yet, but it should be going off any time. So that upper rad hose goes up from the top of the radiator up underneath this plastic. You can't see it. And the lower one is connected to the bottom of the water pump. An easier way to get to it if you want to feel it is right behind here. And yeah, this one's warm also. Not as warm as the upper, but that's pretty normal. So we're going to keep running it and monitor, of course, the display to make sure that we're not overheating. Everything's running pretty good. And then, like I said, any minute we should hear that fan. And if we don't, that could be an indication of a problem. Alright guys, I think it's time to shut her down. We got a hot indication, and we still don't have any engine fans, so, and we can see it, fluid is boiling, so clearly we have a problem with the fan. Well, not the fan, sorry. The fan is running fine as you saw there. So we need to figure out what kicks on the fan, which sensor that is, and we're going to go ahead and test that. Okay, so I've got her back in the shop, and we're going to continue on with our testing. And first thing I want to do is right up here, this is your fan relay, so we're going to check that. And down here, you can't see it, and that's why I got confused a little bit for a second, but right tucked up underneath there, there's the fan sensor, and it's on the radiator. So we're also going to test this. This one's actually quite simple, but one thing at a time. So there's two things you can do. So we're going to remove the relay, we're going to bring it to the bench, and we're going to see if in fact it's good. So for this part of the test, we're going to need a multimeter or a test light and a 12 volt battery. Now it doesn't have to be this large, but as long as the battery is charged enough that it's going to be able to activate the relay. So on most of these relays, there is going to be a little diagram, and that diagram is going to help you determine where to put power to do what. So as you can see here, if I go to 85 and 86, that's my latch coil, and then what it does is it's going to close power between 30 and 87. So back here, all these terminals are actually labeled with those numbers. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our power and our ground, we're going to attach it to the battery leads. Okay, so again, looking to make sure we have it connected properly. So 85 and 86. So if I connect power and ground to those, doesn't matter which one you go, as long as you don't touch anything to itself, like you don't want to arc anything over. So you're going to hear it click, or at least you should. If it doesn't click, it's not a good sign. So just like that. Now with my multimeter, I got it set to either ohms or just continuity, so it's going to beep. And I don't know why my multimeter has a delay like that, but it's been like that since new. Just gotten used to it. So now, if the relay is in fact good, it's going to beep. So here we go. And it's good. So that is one way of testing part of the system, and that tells us now that this component is good and it should be able to provide the power it needs to the fan. Now, having said that, we know that this is good. We can also test the wiring going from here to the fan, and we're going to do that next. There's a couple of tests we can do now to make sure that the wiring is all kind of in good condition to make sure it's doing what it's doing. So what we're going to do first is we're going to put the relay back in place in the orientation it goes. And you'll notice that one of the connectors is off compared to the rest. So that tells you that it can only go one way. So now that the relay is back in place, we're going to turn the key on. Oh, yeah, that way, sorry. Turn the key on, and we're going to test the fan switch in the radiator. And that's going to be a simple test. All we're going to do is jump it. Now, if we jump it on the wiring side, like the harness side, and everything turns on, that means we're good, and it would make the sensor itself the culprit. So let's see what happens. So I got it jumped, and it didn't kick in. So one of two things. There's still another item. So it's possibly a sensor, but maybe not. So we're going to leave that disconnected for now. We're going to remove this relay one more time. And now we're going to basically jump the wire across the relay. But we know this relay is good. So we don't have to do this, but in the event that you wanted to check it, what you can do is we know that in order to make the fan turn, we have to go, and this is again based off the diagram that's on the relay. I'm going to connect my jump, and I just made a little wire with a couple of blade connectors. I'm going to go from the back here, and then across here, and with the key on again, that fan should have turned on. Okay, and just to make sure, we're going to jump this again, and we're still not getting anything. Okay, so there is one more place that we can go check. We can leave everything as is, and that is there's a breaker or a fuse somewhere in the wire harness, and these Polarises don't always necessarily have it in the same area. Don't know why, but let's go see if we can find it. Okay, so after some digging, and I mean quite a bit of digging, I went through the whole harness, couldn't find it, and I went over it again. It's actually under, it's going to be easier to do it with the camera, but it's actually tucked up under the battery box right there, and it was taped. So I removed the tape so that I can pull it, but if I pull the wire out, you'll see that there's two connectors on the harness like this. And some people call this a breaker, some people call it a fuse. It's basically just a fuse, and you just pull out just like that. It's got two, where's my camera? It's got two terminals like this. So let's bring it to the bench and see if it's good. Meter is back at continuity. Always test. Make sure you got that beep. And if I go across these two terminals, it should beep as well. Come on. And absolutely nothing. Okay, so this could be bad. So what we're going to do now is we're going to jump this. Actually, you guys hear that? I tap it and there's something's loose in there. Odd, very odd. Anyways, we're going to go in, we're going to jump these two terminals, and then we're going to see if we can get the fan to kick on with everything else that we have in the front jumped. So let's do that right now. So all I did is I just made basically another connection with some alligator clips connected inside those terminals. And I highly recommend, guys, if you're going to be doing a little bit of work like that on your own electrical wise, it's a good idea to have some of these little jumpers. Make some, you can keep them, you don't have to remake them every time. I got a bunch. So, okay, so now that I disconnected this, but the reason for that is because as soon as I connected the breaker in the back, or my jumper in the back, it turned on the fan right away, which is good news because we're jumping across this as well and is over here. So, let's just see it here. If I can get in there, it's a tight spot. There you go. So that's pretty awesome. So that tells me now that the wiring is working. We got good power or good wires from the battery going all the way up to the fan. All right, guys. So it's been a couple of days, and I managed to source one of those circuit breakers actually in one of my local parts stores. So I'm going to try it. It's a little different, but it's still a 10 amp circuit breaker. And it's only different in the sense that it's got, I'll show you in a second here. Actually, just let's open it up. Instead of having it just regular like this one's actually got some mounting screws, and it's got a slight bit more on the stud. So that's not a big deal because with the nuts there, once I'm satisfied that this rectifies a problem, I can trim those down and it's not a problem. If you are interested in what this part number is, it's made by TA Texban. I'm not sponsored, but it is part number 766692. So let's pop this in. I got the door open, another door open in the back, so we got a cross breeze. We're going to run it and hope that cures the problem and the fan kicks on. And we're all good. And there you have it. We've got our fan kicking in just like it's supposed to. We're going to wait for it to cycle. We're going to top off the fluid because it actually just went through. It's at the bottom there, you might not see it, but it's not really far down. It's just a very short piece of hose that goes into the rad, so I'm not too concerned about that. I'm also going to make sure that the reservoir over on this side is topped up, which it is. It's right where it needs to be. Oh, there you guys. Yeah, there you go. That's where it needs to be. So that's good. So there you go. Now I know that I can just trim off the studs on that particular circuit breaker to make it fit just nice. So I've taken the old one to kind of use it up as a measurement for the new one where I want to cut the studs. And I'm going to keep the nuts down so that when I back them off, it'll make the threads again. Not that that's important because we're not really threading anything back in it, and I'm going to probably get rid of these nuts anyways. Then we're going to get rid of this plate. But I'm just going to throw it in the vise here, and I'm just going to cut it with a handsaw, like just a hacksaw. And I'm going to hold the part that I don't want because I don't want to squeeze or damage the new component. So I'm going to hold on to this here and just hopefully very easily this should go. And there's one. Get rid of that one, and then we're going to do this one, and you kind of get the idea. Once I break off that little tab, we're going to reinsert that back into the harness, tape it, and then we can reassemble the rest of the bike. The breaker out back is all secured to the harness. Cooling is it's all been topped up after I waited for it to cool off. Of course, you don't want to open that when it's warm. So it's all good to go now. We know that the system works as it should. Had I done this again, like if I was to do it again, I would do it a little differently. I always like to start with the simplest stuff and make my way forward. Well, the list that I gave you earlier would change a little bit. So I would still start with checking the fuse, but then before checking the relays and all these sensors and everything else, I would go directly to the back. It's very rare that these breakers go bad, but clearly they do. So I would test that breaker, then I would carry on with the rest of the method that I gave you guys earlier. So all I need to do now is button up the front and the rest of the bike, give it a quick little once over. These older Polarises actually have grease fittings on all the suspension components. I'm a huge fan of grease fittings, so I'm going to be hitting those up for sure. But that's going to be the end of the video for now. So if you guys did enjoy the video, please consider giving me a thumbs up. We'd really appreciate that. And as always, hope you guys have a great, awesome day. And I'll see you guys in the next video. The breaker is all attached. Did I press record?